My mother-in-law verbally slapped me by demanding a paternity test, and my husband didn't defend me, so I'm slapping back by deleting the fetus and divorcing him. Posted by you/much_garden1223. I came to this sub because I want to tell this to somebody, and it seems that I can only keep it to myself. I cried for several hours. I'm very scared and tired, so I think I will be rambling. I just want to put this somewhere, and my husband and his family don't know English, so this place makes me feel safe. I learned that I am pregnant this morning. I don't know how long it has been. I told my husband the moment I found out. He was happy. He told me he was glad. He was very happy when he left to meet his parents. I opened my door today to my mother-in-law and him. He did not tell me she would come, and he knows I don't do well with unannounced visitors, especially of that importance. It was her second or third time in our apartment, but she acted like it was hers. She ordered me to sit, and I felt so anxious. My heart was beating so fast, it all felt so unsafe. I kept looking at my husband, but he never looked me in the eyes. He was looking at the floor or at his hands. His mother demanded a paternity test right after congratulating me. It felt so awful. She didn't say anything rude or bad, but it felt like she did. It felt like she was calling me a SLT. I was shocked, and I kept trying to get my husband to look at me, but he would not. She noticed and ordered me to look at her, saying that her son would not help me. It felt so scary. She started to threaten me with the lawyers who are friends of their family. She told me that if I was smart, I would go with her to the clinic tomorrow, and this would all be over with. It felt so awful, like I was completely at the mercy of this woman. It felt like she could just grab me and put her hands inside me herself, and my husband would not protect me. And the most disgusting part of all, it felt like she somehow did that. It felt like she somehow put her hands inside me and tainted whatever was there. Whatever I felt for my husband died at that moment. After the shock and the fear, I felt disgust for him. I felt sick sitting there. He looked so disgusting and pathetic, sitting there silent, not protecting me. It felt disgusting that I ever let him touch me, that I let him do this to me. It felt like all the love I had for him was tainted too. All I managed to say was that I needed time to decide. She told me there was nothing to decide. I told her that I was shocked and needed time. She said this was exactly what she was afraid of hearing and that it was all very clear to her. It felt like I was going to throw up. I wanted to cry so badly, and my voice was shaking, but I didn't cry. She said she was sorry it had to be this way, but she gave me 3 days. My husband stood up to see her out, not saying a word to me. He went to walk her to her car, and I was left alone. I immediately cried. I felt so scared. I felt like they could barge in and just take it out of me if they wanted, like they thought so little of me. Did my husband always think I was cheating, or did she? Did they always look at me and think I was unfaithful? Several times I tried to throw up because I was crying so hard. Why didn't my husband protect me? This is not who I married. The last time I felt this unsafe was when I was at my parents' home, and I vowed that I would never feel this way again. I married him because I felt like he could protect me, and he didn't. I still feel sick and disgusting for letting him touch me, for being pregnant by him. When I heard him come back, I locked the bathroom door, and I've been there ever since, crying. He didn't say a word to me. I'm waiting for him to fall asleep so I can sleep on the couch in the kitchen. I don't ever want to be in the same bed with him again. I may not be thinking clearly, but I want a divorce. I will never feel safe with this man, and I know for certain I will never love him again. I will never be sure he will protect me. I can't stay. What scares me is that I want a termination. It was the first thing I Googled. What I have inside me is his. It ties me to him and to his mother, and I want it out. While I was crying, I scratched my stomach unintentionally, and now it's all red and itching. I can't think about what's inside of me without crying hysterically. I want out. I want to be safe. It's strange and cruel, but I don't feel bad for wanting a divorce. I will lose the future I wanted, and all my friends, and I will have to start all over again, but I did it once when I left my parents' house, and I will do it again. I feel nothing towards what's inside of me. It reminds me of his mother, and it scares me. I want it out. I never thought about termination before, and I've never been around pregnant people much. Right now, I don't feel anything, but writing this post helped me calm down, and I sort of have a plan now. I don't know if I should move out first or go to a doctor first. I'm afraid they'll lock me up if they find out. For some reason, this reminds me of the time I left my parents, and my head feels clear. I'm not as panicked anymore, and I mostly feel numb. But I was crying a lot earlier. I guess that's all. I want to sleep, and I need to go to work tomorrow. I think that's good because it gives me an excuse to be out of the flat. I don't feel safe here. Thank you for listening. I have no friends to tell this to. Update 2 days later. Hello everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody. I have never received so many comments and messages in my life. It doesn't feel real. So many people have been worrying about me and offering their advice, and it really helped me because I have felt very alone. So, I wanted to say thank you and apologize for taking so much time and not replying to everyone. To save time for all the people worried about me, I'm okay. I'm still living with my husband, but I sleep on the couch. I am pregnant, in week 7 or 8. I have talked with my husband, but nothing useful came out of it. I have decided to divorce him. I'm looking for flats but not making any active moves yet. We will go to the clinic on Friday to give samples for a paternity test. I am still unsure about a termination. I feel very numb. In short, that's how the situation is. Many people asked if I cheated and got downvoted. I think it's a fair question for them to ask, since they don't know me and I hadn't mentioned it in the post. This post was more of a way for me to collect my thoughts and feel like I'm telling my story to a friend, so I didn't think to include every detail. I didn't expect so many people would read it. So, to answer that question, no, I have not cheated. My husband was my first and only partner. That's why it felt so disgusting not to receive any comment or reaction from him, because he knows this. I fear this will be long, but there aren't many interesting things happening, so you can stop reading if you were worried about me. I'm okay, thank you. Now, the first thing I have to say is that I feel strange. I don't really feel anything. From the moment I woke up on Monday until now, I felt very numb. Nothing feels real. There was a brief moment of emotion when I talked to my husband, but it passed quickly. It doesn't feel right, but I feel okay. It's like I'm a robot, doing work and house chores on autopilot. I think that's a good thing. Maybe it's because I've cried so much. My husband didn't leave the bedroom on Monday morning. He can work from home whenever he wants, so I think he decided to do that. I found myself quickly falling back into an old routine I had as a teenager. I would wake up and try to be as quiet as if I didn't exist, so I wouldn't disturb anyone. It didn't feel right to be experiencing the same thing all these years later as an adult, but I couldn't make myself act differently, so I left for work quietly without saying a word. I received a lot of support on the train, reading your comments. Thank you for that. I kept reading while at work, researching clinics and paternity tests. Many of your comments were very helpful, and I used them to make a plan for myself. Around noon on Monday, I started receiving comments from people asking me not to end the pregnancy. Many said that I was experiencing a trauma response and wasn't thinking clearly. When I went to the ladies' room at work, I would place my hands on my belly and try to feel something, but I felt as numb as ever. I don't really feel anything except a slight sense of disgust when I think about this pregnancy, and I'm sorry for that. I also looked at apartments because, while I feel numb, I still feel very strongly that I want a divorce, or at least a safe place that is mine alone. I can afford to move out now, and I can even afford to live on my own. I'll have to cut some luxuries like dance classes and beauty appointments, and I won't be able to save money, but that's okay. I think the reason I felt so panicked about leaving was because, when I left my parents, I had nothing, no money, no job, no diploma. I had to live with 3 other people in a small apartment, and I still didn't have enough money for food. Realizing that I can live somewhat comfortably on my own money has helped me calm down, and now I feel numb even about the divorce. For now, my plan is to move out after we give the samples for the paternity test. I'll probably have to wait until Monday or next Tuesday for my husband to go to the office so I can pack my things. I also received messages about my response being traumatic, that my husband is also a victim, and that my view of him is sexist, basically telling me we need to talk. I was planning to talk to him anyway, but those comments helped me formulate what I needed to say. I'm sorry, but I feel too tired to recreate the conversation in detail, so I'll keep it short. 1. I asked him if he thought I cheated. He said not initially, but my reaction to his mother made him think I had. I told him I reacted that way because I was scared. He said there was nothing to be scared of. We argued, but it went nowhere. 2. I asked him why he didn't protect me and why he just let her in. In short, I found out that she pays for this flat, basically, she funds it. I didn't know that. So, she felt she had every right to just come in. I won't lie, that made me feel very unsafe, and I still do, but I've committed to my plan, and I will go through with it. Again, he didn't think his mother was scary or threatening, and we argued about that pointlessly. 3. Because of these pointless arguments, and due to people in the comments saying my expectations of him were unreasonable, I told him everything I thought about our situation, how I see our responsibilities to each other, and my history of abuse. I actually wrote it down beforehand because I intended to have this conversation later, but it was the only moment when I didn't feel numb. I felt angry, so I told him then. He didn't really respond, except for when I mentioned his mother, saying she wasn't abusive. He looked very tired. 4. I told him my terms. I agreed to the test, but I don't want to see his mother. I don't want to be alone with her. I don't want her in this flat. We will go to all the appointments together, just us, not with her. He agreed. That is all. I didn't tell him about the divorce or my thoughts on termination. I don't feel safe doing that. I received many comments urging me to play along, and that's what I've decided to do. I have a lot of experience with that. We went to bed, and he asked me to come back to the bedroom, or for me to stay there and he would take the couch, but sleeping in our bed feels disgusting, so I declined. I heard him speaking on the phone to his mother, but I couldn't make out the words. The next morning, I decided not to read any comments so I could have some time to myself. I wanted to use the day to understand how I feel about being pregnant. Sadly, I feel nothing. I felt nothing even at my appointment. Nothing felt real, whether at the clinic or at home, like it was happening to someone else. The doctor gave me recommendations, a list of medications, diet restrictions, and a list of other doctors I need to see, but all of it seemed very alien to me, like it's all part of a pretend game. I don't think what I'm feeling is normal, but it's helping me keep a clear mind, so I'm not worried about it. I've decided to give my husband until Monday to do something, to apologize or to talk to me, anything really. If he doesn't, I will definitely divorce him. As for the baby, I won't do anything about it until I move out. I've already missed the window for a termination via injection, so anything now would be invasive. I don't really feel anything about being pregnant, so I'll wait and see if that changes. That's the plan. My husband's mother still makes me nervous. Whenever I think about seeing her again, I feel scared. However, when I talk to my husband, he seemed very certain that he can keep her away until we get the results, so I'm not sure if my fears are reasonable. I don't know what else to say. I want to thank everyone again for their support and advice. It really helped me, especially since all my friends are his friends, so I couldn't tell anyone. Seeing so much support gave me courage, thank you. Second update 1 month later. Hello everyone, this is an update to my post, which is almost a month old now. As always, I wanted to say thank you for all the support and apologize for not updating sooner. My update was deleted, but things just kept happening every day, and I was too exhausted to rewrite it. The main reason was not only the family drama but also my job. My boss didn't give me even one day off, so I had to do everything in the evenings or on weekends, which took a lot of time. December is a busy time in my line of work, so I often worked after hours. In short, I am no longer pregnant. I live in my own, very expensive, apartment, but I am not legally divorced yet. I lost all my friends, don't really have anyone, but I am okay. I don't want this to be long, so I won't repeat what I wrote in the deleted update. Writing down all that has happened feels like an impossible task, so please forgive me if it feels like some details are missing. In short, I decided to stay with my husband and play along until I could find a new flat and get a paternity test done. My husband and I, had a conversation. He refused to admit that his mother did anything wrong, told me I acted guilty, and I found out that our flat had been paid for by his mother. My husband makes good money and can afford this flat. He agreed to let his mother pay for it so he could have more money for fun. It made me feel very unsafe and lied to. My husband promised me that I would never see his mother again, but he lied to me. We had one visit to the doctor with just me and my husband. When I arrived at the clinic to get the test done, my husband wasn't there, but his mother was. I feel ashamed remembering that. I couldn't control my emotions at all. I called him, crying, and he said he didn't break his promise because it wasn't a doctor's visit, they would just take our blood. He was late to his appointment, so I was alone with his mother in the room, crying the whole time. The nurses treated me badly, not talking to me, only to her, and making faces when I made noises. Looking back, I see why they did that. It probably looked like I was a young and stupid girl who cheated and was now paying for her choices, based on the way I acted. But I couldn't do anything about it. I had another episode where I had no thoughts, only panic, and couldn't control my emotions. Later, I found out that his mother paid for the test as well. I still don't know why, since he has enough money. After taking me home, he told me that I acted very inappropriately and that he feels ashamed because he can't invite his mother home. He also told me that my behavior makes him feel like he doesn't want to stay married to me. Now, I feel even thankful for this comment. It snapped me out of my panic state. I felt a lot of shame for wanting a divorce, but this helped me understand that it is the right thing to do. In my last update, I wrote about how it felt like I wasn't fully there, and that all of this was happening to someone else. People told me that I am dissociating. This state caused me to make mistakes at work, so I couldn't get a day off. But, to be honest, I would rather stay dissociated because it is better than being constantly panicked and anxious, which has been happening to me over the past few weeks. I thought that when my husband and his mother got the results, they would leave me alone, but I was wrong. When they learned that I had been faithful, things got so much worse. His mother basically moved in with us, and it was hell. She was texting and calling me all the time, demanding to know when I would be home. In a way, I'm glad my job is so demanding because it gave me an excuse to avoid contact with her while I was working and to do some things after work without her getting suspicious, since I typically work more than 10 hours a day during busy months. However, I still had to sleep and spend evenings and weekends at home, and that was hell. She was with me all the time, even waiting outside the bathroom door and knocking if I took too long. My husband said that she felt sorry and wanted to show me she cared because I looked troubled. To me, it didn't feel that way. I couldn't do anything because she made me so anxious. She started cleaning, cooking, and doing everything else, but she wasn't nice about it. She also forced me to sleep in the same bed as my husband, and those nights were so horrible, I don't want to remember them at all. Thankfully, I moved out after 1.5 weeks, but because it's New Year, the flats are very expensive. I can't stay in the flat I'm renting right now long term. If I can make it until the end of spring, I'll be able to rent something more affordable, but I could also rent something cheaper, though not as cheap as it will be in the summer, after 3 months. I'll wait and see. Due to the situation with his mother, I only took the most important things. Most of my clothes, books, and little things I like stayed there, and I probably won't get them back, but I'm okay with it. When I moved, I just texted my husband, telling him that I don't feel comfortable with him, don't like how our life has turned out, don't want to live with his mother constantly being with us, and that's why I want to separate. He sent me a lot of texts, and his mother did too, but I haven't opened any of her messages since moving. It feels really good knowing I can just delete them. My husband was very mad. He called me a lot of bad names and said many unpleasant things. Reading that made me cry. When he asked me if I wanted a divorce, I told him that having to sleep in the same bed with him again and endure his touch made me realize that not only do I not love him anymore, but I also feel disgusted. He told me that either I'm cheating and got pregnant by him by chance, or I am completely wrong as a human being, really messed up. To be honest, I agree. I don't think it's normal to fall out of love this quickly, but I don't know why it happened. I guess I truly am someone who is very unwell. My husband demanded that I give him and his mother daily updates on my pregnancy, but by that time, I was certain I wanted a termination, so I had to act quickly. I don't want to go into detail about what happened, but I would like to offer some advice, and thank those who gave me advice. Get someone to be with you during that time. The first time I tried to get the procedure, the woman at the reception told me I needed my husband's written consent, which made me so scared and panicked again that I couldn't think clearly. Later, following the advice I received from some people here, I looked for groups that help women in difficult situations. One of them provided a volunteer to be with me through the process. She told me it's not legal for them to ask for my husband's consent and explained that there are a lot of tricks used to make women waste time. Without her, I would have been so lost. I'm incredibly thankful. A lot of people were invested in my pregnancy and told me I should keep it, saying that my desire for a termination was a trauma response and that I would feel guilty and regret it afterward. I understand that they wanted the best for me, and I'm sorry to say this, but I don't feel bad at all. Honestly, despite the pain and lingering feeling of illness that I still have today, I felt so much better mentally after the procedure. I had focused a lot of my attention on the divorce, thinking that it would end my state of panic, but it turned out that ending the pregnancy was what I needed. I know it may sound bad, but I want to be truthful. My reasoning is this: if it was a trauma response, then this child didn't deserve a mother like that. And I am, apparently, a deeply unwell person who can't control when I'll become motionless and consumed by fear, or someone who can fall out of love in a day. So, I wouldn't be a good mother to anyone. And I have to say with complete certainty, my husband's mother does not deserve to have children in her care. I know I was emotional back then, but now I'm sure she's made of the same stuff my parents are. I can just feel it. I should have been wiser and seen it earlier. I have some thoughts on why I didn't, and why I didn't see the way my husband would be, but I need more time to reflect on it. I texted my husband, I am no longer pregnant, and for now, I am ignoring his calls and texts. I just can't deal with that. As I mentioned, all my friends are his friends, and his mother announced my pregnancy on her Instagram without my permission, so they all knew. They probably know by now that I ended it. Some of our friends, mostly women, reached out to me after I moved and offered support, but nobody is texting me now, and 2 of them have unfollowed me on Instagram. I knew this would happen, and I'm okay with it. I've never really had friends, I was always a bit of a weird person. Still, having people to talk to and hang out with was nice, and it makes me sad to think about what they must think of me now. But these are not my friends, so I have to move on. That's all I have on my mind for now. I've probably forgotten something again. I'm mostly in bed today, trying to get better because I have to work next week, including overtime. Thank you again for all your well wishes and advice, you've helped me through all of this, and I didn't feel so alone. I wish you all happy holidays, and I hope yours are nice, fun, and that you spend them the way you want to.